Hello, everybody, and welcome to our core team meeting. I'm Todd Fernandez with Climate Crisis Policy. As you know, this is our informal call, so there'll be no fancy introductions. Let's see here. We've got a lot going on now, so I'll just go through several things together, and then we'll talk a little bit about them together, and maybe sign some folks up for different things. This is I'm just trying to get a quick peek about who all's here. And if it's all of our regulars, I'll do this differently. We're in this big moment, obviously, and we're taking on huge new goals that are sort of very exciting. What was I going to say here? Oh, and because, we're taking on these things, we're now going to go into sort of emergency organizing mode. We're almost always in that mode. But in terms of, we're doubling up a little bit. So, but that's exciting because everyone seems to be in the groove about these things. And so we're going to embark on this. The underlying current for all of this and the thematic is unity and creating a plan for unity. So everything we're going to be going through is about forging unity, building coalitions of coalitions and expanding our network and creating a ground game. And then of course, we're going to have a whole journey deep into the policy world. So in addition to everything we already have in place, and we're going to go into our policy sectors tonight, and we're going to talk about our adopted district work a little bit tonight as well, and action steps we need on all of that. We're going to create these two new working groups. And so forgive me a little bit as I repeat a little bit of this as we do this transition, because we've had a couple meetings in December and we set everything in motion, and I'm almost a little bit confused myself as to how much we've brought everyone along with in the various pieces of the meetings, because some people make some and some people make others, et cetera. And we've been growing and evolving over the last couple weeks since the symposium. So the idea, again, for everyone is that we're setting up two new working groups. And I'm calling them working groups because they're working groups to form a committee. And then that committee will hopefully create, do the work of these two new veins of our activity. One is building a coalition of coalitions. And so the working group will create lists of coalitions that are out there. And we will contact them and invite them to this conversation, and then see who all says yes, and then figure out a time for them to come together and start thinking about it. So we'll be really facilitating and giving it a liftoff. So that's why it's a working group to form a committee. And you can understand what the work will be there, identifying groups. We'll be asking everybody in our network to provide information on group of coalitions that exist that we should be in touch with them. We already know several of them. That working group will also be doing a second level of task, and that will be formalizing our relationships. So of all the local groups, all the grassroots groups and activists that have been gradually joining our adopted district and working on the policy sector and have been drawn to the symposium, I think we've reached the point where it's time for us to formalize that network. And so, and when the working group is talking about coalition formation and constructs like collective impact and co-ops and the various topics that we will be discussing of what the contribution level is if you are officially in the network and what all that entails, we will then start to form our own network. And the working idea of a name for it is the Earth Bill Network, the Earth Bill Network, and earthbill.org is a domain that we've gotten. And so that's the thinking there. So that working group will be doing both of those things simultaneously, and they will be meeting on Saturdays at 5 o'clock, 5 to 6:30. And so to sign up for that, I can put in the chat again, the sign up form, but most everyone probably here has already signed up for something. Almost 100 people have signed up to be on the various teams and committees, which is pretty remarkable, frankly. And so I imagine many of you are already on those lists already. Still on that working group for the coalition, I'll chair that for now to get it moving. But then once we start to meet, we'll figure out how to operate that organization, that entity. The other main working group is the working group to, again, form a committee to work on comprehensive legislation. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, that we're embarking on this journey to draft legislation. So there's a couple ways for this to happen as well. The working group will reach out to organizations that have legislative directors and policy people that are already in the federal legislative policy arena. And we will invite them to form a committee, and hopefully that will take hold. And then they, with our role, I'd stay in that committee, of course, and they would help to create a process, hopefully among legislative directors, among organizations, that we would go through to come up with an outline for a comprehensive bill, and then some pathway to drafting one. It will really be about the process that we'll be following in terms of collecting people, input to that process and keeping it transparent and open. At the same time, that working group will be, because you don't know if that's going to come into fruition and what shape that and direction that will all take. So at the same time, we're going to be collecting the bills and the policy documents, not expansively, but of major coalitions and organizations that are working on pieces of this pie. We too will be inviting them to share their materials and inviting them to this committee, of course, as well. So that's essentially how these two working groups are going to function. And I'm going to talk a little bit now about the policy sectors and how they interface with this and how all of we interface with this. So essentially, we're in a big outreach campaign. And I don't have a lot of clarity on what shape this is going to take, but I imagine we're going to want both of these working groups to have very broad representation from the underlying constituents, which are essentially the organizations that work on various parts of the policy. And that is really quite a broad stroke of organizations. So our job our collective effort will be to identify these organizations and invite them to this conversation. And then also we will be doing the grunt work of collecting bills and policy documents and looking at them across the sectors. So this is very similar to what we've already done with the digest. And I'm still getting my own head around why it's different and how it's different. One thing is that we will probably have policy ideas across the top of a spreadsheet, or at least the sectors, and then as many specific policy details as we think are really key issues. From the digest, not all of them are major structural things. A lot of them are technical fixes. We won't be hung up on those. But anyway, we'll be collecting as much material as we can and organizing it in some fashion, probably with the bills and the policy documents on one side and the sectors and the specific ideas across the top, something like that. So if you're into that kind of thing, hopefully you'll join the committee on the legislative drafting. And that will hopefully start to piece together the puzzle that is going to be fairly complex of the scope of policies and solutions. Another piece of this is it's not really our work, but the hope now with the MIT and Drawdown is that they might be able to give us direction, not just us, but this legislative team direction, and maybe Drawdown is already that direction, frankly. But it could say, okay, you can reduce greenhouse gases by X tons in this sector, if you mandate X, Y, and Z, that kind of guidance. And then just a, goalpost, but direction could then really help focus everybody's work. So there are a lot of conversations to be had about these two aspects of things. But at least we're already set up with our committees, and we had the meeting on the 30th. And as I say, we've got tons of volunteers in both of those committees. Some of the challenges there are going to be keeping those committees intact and managing the onboarding, because we have all of our meetings and they're always open to everybody. And sometimes it's, it's a chunk of regulars, of course, and then there are new people. That'll be more complicated with working groups, depending on our processes. If they're clear, it should be all right. But we're just going to be mindful of how we onboard people to these working groups and do that in a methodical way so that it doesn't disrupt the flow of the work, because they're going to be meeting weekly. And that is a very ambitious work schedule. So we'll have to see, how that gets started and what that looks like. So turning back to the policy sectors. So a lot of you are in policy sectors, and I think that the coalitions and the two working groups and the committees that emerge from them will likely be organized in a similar way around policy sectors. I think that makes the most sense. But again, we're not into that yet. So we'll give that more thought as we have those conversations. But I'm thinking that the existing policy sectors are already built. They're strong. They have great numbers on them. Like each one of them has a big chunk of people on it. And so that's what we're here to discuss a little bit today, the work of the policy sectors and how they can feed and fuel and support and participate in the two working groups rather. And so we'll want to think about this and try to streamline it as much as possible. So, at least one lead from all the policy sectors hopefully will attend or participate in one or both of these working groups. So I guess if you're in a policy sector, if you could figure out somebody from your sector that will attend one or both of these. I'm thinking if you have if your sector lead could attend both for now, and then maybe designate additional person. And everybody's welcome to this, don't get me wrong, but we just want to make sure that we have clear who the liaisons are to these working groups from the policy sectors. Because that way, information and workflow can flow through those people to and back from the working groups. And then the policy sector teams themselves could put as a task for their work to identify the organizations and policies within their sectors. And this is where it's going to get into a spreadsheet situation, and we're going to have to figure that out a little bit. So I'm just thinking out loud, obviously, as we're doing this, we're creating it, and the plane, they call it building the plane and flying the plane at the same time. So that's how it's going to be, because we're meeting so quickly, we're not going to have things figured out in advance. And that's what these meetings are for, is to work as a team and work through these things. So the policy sector workload, Christine was asking me to pull that together. Now I realize I'm starting this conversation much earlier, but I think everybody's probably here who's going to be here. Is to first, we want to make sure that everything you just did in your comparison of the House plan and the Senate plans, that all of that work has made its way into the spreadsheet where you were comparing it up against the policy digest. And that all that's there, including wherever that goes on the sheet, what's missing issues. So that's the first thing, make sure all that material, so basically everything you put in your PowerPoint presentations needs to get back onto those spreadsheets. And then the next piece is we wanted to sort of collect what's missing. Now, I don't think everyone wrote a part of the report about what was missing. We sort of need to collect that and then in one place. So, but once you get it onto your spreadsheet, I think that'll be a lot easier. So maybe that's really the only step, is get all that on the spreadsheet. And the what's missing will be in rows. I mean, maybe we should look at that spreadsheet. Is Christine here? Oh yeah, she's here. Christine, I don't know. Do you want to open that spreadsheet and share it and us decide right now where to put some of this stuff? Maybe just pull it up and we can do that a little bit at the end.
Okay.
Let's definitely do that at the end.
Okay. I'll be ready.
So then, yeah, that'll do that. And that'll clarify where we're going to do that input. So that's the main task there that's hanging over from what we've been doing. And then we have to figure out where we're going to put organizations and documents, bills, and, you know, like the US Climate Action Network's policy document for legislation, where we're going to put those and collect those. So I think we're going to need a new spreadsheet for both of these working committees. And we will have sector tabs across the bottom, and we will use those sector tabs to as working sheets like we did for the symposium. And that's what we'll put at the top of each one. We'll have organization, we'll have the list of the committee, then we'll have organizations that we're doing outreach to somewhere, and then somewhere we'll have bills and policy documents from relevant organizations that are going to be in this conversation that we will then be analyzing. So I think I should stop there for, oh yeah, stop there and take any questions just on that much. Catherine. You're muted. Catherine, you're muted.
Thank you, Todd. As you were describing that, I appreciate that. And not only what's missing, like when we went through this House, Senate, and Climate Crisis Policy Digest, also the things that were there repeatedly. In other words, the things that seem so important that they came up again and again and again. So those are the things I think, not only what was missing that we have to make sure is included in any legislation we'll be working on, but also the things that were so essential that they were repeated.
Yeah. Well, once we get all this information down on that document, we'll look at it again together. We'll probably have a special meeting for that. And we'll start looking about how we want to share and present that information. But I hear what you're saying, and absolutely. And then of course we need the overlay of, you know, where the greenhouse gas bang for the bucks are and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyone else? There's a stack here. So Tara.
Yeah, so I'm just like clarifying. What I'm hearing is that we're going to have enough stuff going on with trying to get together a coalition of coalitions and with getting unity on a bill that is, you know, like the bill, that we're not probably going to keep analyzing individual bills as they come up and adding them to the legislative package. Is that?
No. We'll,
not.
yeah, thank you for reminding me about that. I think the bill package, we're going to keep the bill package, of course. It's critical to having action steps for the adopted district and to be able to grow that. So we'll be verifying that all these bills are being refiled, and then we will have a list of bills that we're trying to add, and this whole process will fuel that. For example, I'm already getting people sending me bills about different things, to divest the federal pension funds. There's bills to protect the Endangered Species Act. So through this journey, I think those bills, and I'll be asking everybody who, all the symposium folks, the presenters, for, you know, to help organize their end of that. And I actually should talk about, and I will in a minute, about what were the engagement and follow up with the symposium. But we'll definitely keep the bill package going. We'll be adding bills regularly. It'd be easier to get that in motion once January, you know, the groups are still figuring out, I'm sure, everything, their refilings, et cetera. So absolutely, we'll keep that going. I think it's critical because it shows you the, you know, things, the tangible things that we can work on immediately. All right, Selden.
Yeah, hi. Thank you again for what a fabulous job you're doing, Todd. It's really incredible, I think. But just wanted, and you've sort of just answered it, but I just want to highlight it because I do think it's an important bill. I believe the Thrive agenda that has been a resolution since September is going to be a bill, at least is what I've heard. And just wanted to figure out that there's a process to include something that comprehensive that had so many grassroots groups across the country working on it. Just want to make sure there's a process that will include that as part of our work.
Yeah, any big resolutions, the coalitions are work, that's coming from the Green New Deal table. So all the legislation and proposals coming from any of those 5 tables definitely has to be in the mix for sure. And it'll be great. I hear that bill's in the works as well. I don't know that we'll be trying to work from the resolution if there's going to be a bill, hopefully.
Right.
And VCAN, U.S. Climate Action Network has a whole thing too. I forget what it stands for, but it's VCAN. So there are those kinds of big policy treatises. That's even much more detailed, frankly, than the Thrive agenda is. But yes is the answer. And triggered one other thought, but I can't remember. So definitely. Rachel Matcliffe, and thank you, by the way, for the compliment.
Okay, I'm wondering how we're going to finesse the adopted district when we don't know whether some of the bills in our packages are going to be refiled. And I'm concerned about that because I think the opportunity of people all over the country to be in an adopted district and actually, use their own voice and their own expertise and their own knowledge of the bills, to push. I think it's very, very important to maintain that. I don't see anything formal yet, and that's not a criticism, but I just wanted to, wave a little flag for that because, it would be terrible if everyone was all ready to see their congressperson and we missed a boat on some education that we already have that was already part of something we recorded. I'd like to see that really strengthened, or not even strengthened, formalized. I'd like to see it formalized so we can see through time, where are we? What bills are, not quite there yet, so everybody who's in an old-time position, I wouldn't even say leadership, but, I'm so invested in this. I'd like to be able to see where are we and who's going to do the heavy lifting to make sure that it stays very relevant to the folks in these districts.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's talk about adopted district in a minute. So we're still working on the bill package. Everything's full steam ahead, just like it has been. So,
Okay.
Brenna, do you want to say a couple? Well, I definitely want to talk about adopted district, and I actually want to spend a moment there. And I know you have an event coming up, so let's just finish this stack, and then we'll go to that. Go ahead, Jan.
Sorry, got to unmute myself. Question about the policy sector liaison, if you will, to the Earth bill or the large climate bill, the replacement for GND, whatever you want to call it. I'm on the greenhouse gas policy team, and we've been understandably focused on 763. We have a lot of CCL members who are super passionate and committed and know everything about the carbon fee and dividend bill. But at the state level, I've been working legislation to reduce GHGs, put together a transportation electrification plan, and regulate the oil and gas industry for the last 2-3 years. And I think I can contribute a lot of policy language, bill language, that we can use for the proposal. So is that something that I should do as a member of the GHG policy sector team?
Well, I think it sounds like you should join the legislative committee, legislative working group, Jan, if you don't mind, but you can do it through your policy sector team too, and contribute it through the process. That's what we're going to be working to figure out is the information flow. That's going to be the hardest part. We're going to have all these inputs coming from different directions, not just us. When we get this going, we're going to probably have open portals for input. And so we have yet to dive into how we're going to manage that kind of process. We're just getting started. But we will figure that out. And you mentioned, you raise an interesting point that we'll talk about this on Saturday more. But a lot of the goals, a lot of what you see in these policy documents and the digest, et cetera, are really macro goals. And so it's like it's the what they want to accomplish without the how. And so we're going to really have to spend, depending on who's doing the heavy lifting in this work. My dream is that we have a team of 25 legislative directors, and I can say, okay, now we need to figure this out and this out and this out. But I don't know that will happen. So we are going to simultaneously be doing a little bit ourselves, I feel, because so as to not lose control of the process. And that will be the trick, finding examples like what you're talking about of how concepts have become actual programs. And, that's a little bit, the first couple months we'll probably be getting the outline and figuring out, what the pieces are and what the big greenhouse gas wins are. And then
because I have the advantage of also being in Joe Negus's backyard, and Joe Negus is on the House Select Committee on Climate Change. So that, and of course, the National Renewable Energy Lab is in my backyard too. So that kind of puts me at the nexus of good thoughts on all sorts of issues related to addressing climate change. And if you think that's the best place for me to be is on the legislation team, that's what I will do.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. All those things sound wonderful. I was an economic development lawyer for a long time, right? And we were tackling issues that were environmental problems, but the solutions were economic development solutions and development and insurance and banking and financing problems. And every time I finally step back and look at this in climate problem, yes, there are environmental underpinnings, but the solutions involve all these industries that have nothing to do with the environmental movement, which is a civil society industry. It's not the means of production of anything.
Right.
And it's the means of production that has to change, and government building renewable energy at a huge scale. And who's going to build it? And how's that going to happen? And what agency do we need for that?
Yeah, I certainly think the advantage we can also bring is that we passed a bill requiring disproportionately impacted communities be addressed first and most. And so that means DI community support is built into all of our climate legislation. And that would be very helpful in developing a federal program.
Wonderful. So all these ideas we'll be channeling. There's a whole bill to not bill, but a proposal that we're in touch with now to change the FERC to a federal, instead of energy, to renewable. Catherine's friends are working on that. And Catherine's bringing in, through the electricity sector, and we need to start reaching out, frankly, Catherine, we got to figure out who the people are that are working on the plans to build renewable energy at scale across the country. Because the only solution to avoid the other bad solutions is to figure out how we're going to do that. And I'm sure there are people on there, but I'm not confident at all that the digest has that yet. So again, we'll be getting into these things in detail going forward. We don't want to get too bogged down in specifics. But as you're looking at your sectors, think about who's going to build it, and are they in our coalition, and are they, in the conversation, particularly when it comes to drafting legislation. So we need them there, and it's almost really like reaching out to some industries. I think renewable energy associations, and I don't know who's building it yet and who the think tanks are on that. But these are the kinds of things we're going to figure out. We're not going to delve too much into this more tonight because we want to keep moving and not keep people here too late. So we're going to have plenty of time for all those kinds of conversations. All right. Just checking if there's anything else. Okay. All right. So we need to talk about the current activity team. We need to talk about the adopted district. And then January 13th, I want to talk about just for a minute. So somebody noted the current activity team. I frankly forgot about it. And we do need to figure out when that's going to meet. How many people here are on that team? Raise your hand. Nobody on the front page? Let's see. Nobody on the back page? Nobody from the current activity team? Tara? I know Rachel Matcliffe is on that one.
Signed up for.
All right.
Which team?
The current activities team, the people who are going to track the day-to-day stuff. what bills moving where, what the demands are, all that jazz. Well, I don't see a lot of, so I'll just make a note to invite those people to a call somehow or another. And we need some people to chair that team. So we'll figure that out from the group that has volunteered to do it. There were plenty.
Yeah, if I can also suggest somebody has to go through the omnibus bill, because the AIM Act, the Manufacturing Act to remove HFCs passed as part of that bill.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
okay.
Mhm. And congratulations to everyone who worked on that. And all right. So then the next thing is the adopted district. Well, did anybody else on our policy sector have, no, I guess we covered it. If you have any more questions, we'll stay and we'll look at the spreadsheet and at the end. So adopted district. Brenna, I'll let you go ahead, but you have some things planned. We do definitely want this adopted district thing to kick into full gear, because this is about building our network infrastructure and our reach across congressional districts. So this is really the fun work. We're building the infrastructure that then will be, it's going to be put in motion immediately for the bill package, but then it's going to become the machine that's really going to, become a force once we have a comprehensive bill. So we definitely want to do this. We're expanding it, not only adopting your district, but to getting state leads per state to then help coordinate finding people to adopt congressional districts, building those state level coalitions. All this will fit into the Earth Bill network as it's evolving into. And Brenna is heading this up now with Tara and Meryl, and Lavona is working on the face side of it. And Brenna, you have a meeting scheduled for this, right?
We do. In fact, I need to check my notes from our last meeting because I believe it is coming up very soon.
I think
But to
January 11th at 7
yeah,
p.m.
thank you. We need to put that on that calendar. Rachel, to address your question, I think this may address it. So we have a spreadsheet of, we've got the form that goes out to anyone who indicates that they're interested in volunteering with CCP, and those who express interest in adopted district, we have their names, their contact info in a spreadsheet, and then I'm sending them an initial welcome email and CCing Meryl and Tara, and depending on Meryl or Tara, depending on the geographic region, and then they're following up. So we're getting a couple of responses each week and sending out a couple of emails each week, and then also connecting people who have already been a part of adopted district and our state leads. We're connecting them with some of the newer volunteers coming through. And I would say to anybody on the call, if you are interested, if you haven't done so already, and I know everybody is volunteering, taking on a number of projects, but do take some time to reach out to, or let us know if you're interested, and reach out to your member of Congress. It's a great thing to do in addition to the other work that we're taking on. And if you're talking with anybody who's kind of, whether they're interested in doing more, they've done this before, they're kind of some of the folks who complain a lot, but haven't figured out how to channel their concern for the climate crisis. This is a great way to get involved. The lead time to a meeting can take several weeks to several months, as many of you know. So we're in this is an ongoing process. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Brenna, I would just like to say that my concern is that the more the adopted district people who have an appointment with their congressperson, the more they know, the more they have educational supports, people they can talk to, the more forceful they're going to be in that meeting. Because I was surprised lately that I would go into a meeting with my elected council person, and oh boy, something was a hot potato, and she wanted to know all kinds of crazy statistics and all of that. And we already have so much so many resources if it were retrievable. It's like a library that's very easily retrieved rather than, you know, the old French method. It was behind a particular statue.
Right.
So, you know, that's my only concern. We've got such a wealth of information and advice. I'd like to make sure it meshes with real need, you know, at the
Right.
point of push.
So that's also something that we've been working on, putting up more training materials. And I'm seeing
Good.
on my screen, I see Tara's window above Todd. So I'm wondering if Tara, if you have anything to add about the training materials, or
Oh, good.
Lavona or Meryl, if you want to jump in with this.
I would just say that we have a meeting coming up next week, but so actually if there's particular, I hesitate to say this, but you could also write it in the side thing. If there's particular things that you think would be really helpful. I do think that we are in the process of developing more materials and having like running more trainings for people that are not familiar with doing lobbying whatsoever, but also trying to figure out how to have stuff. I'd like to have more in-depth stuff for each bill that's in the package, more easy to access to read up on before you go into a meeting. Although if you're representing all the bills on the package, you rarely get into that much depth.
Yeah,
And it's always acceptable to get back to people. Yes, Catherine.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Earlier today, we were talking about getting lists and spreadsheets of this information. For example, the district I'm in here in New York City, if I set up a meeting to go speak with Jerry Nadler, it would be great to know 3 other people that are also in his district, so we can talk to one another and set up a meeting so we can coordinate. So if we have the information of where the person is, what the district is, and at least their phone number and or email, so that we can connect, because it's good to have at least one, better 2 constituents for each elected.
So, all right, good. You know, we're mapping the district leads on the website, and we're a little behind on that because a lot of people have adopted districts. So we'll continue to increase that. What I was hoping to do today is to, I mean, we have that committee. It's going to meet on the 11th, but I don't know if it was possible to, if anyone wanted to adopt their state. There's only 50 of them. And if you're here, you're probably a good prospect for that. So if anyone wants to adopt their state that's here, you've probably already volunteered. Sarah Gronum, do you want to say hi for a second and meet Brenna? Sarah's with 350 Brooklyn, and we've known each other for a while, and she's marvelous, and they've written and they're ready to get involved in this, both on the policy front and then also lobbying.
Yeah, we have a lot of skills. We have a lot of connections, and we've got a lot of people scattered throughout Brooklyn. We're pretty, you know, we're with Catherine, right? In the sense that, you know, when there's going to be a meeting with Jerry Nadler, we can mobilize people. Velazquez, we can mobilize people, etc. We know our stuff.
Right.
And are delighted to see you guys as a resource. It's really going to be very helpful to us. Thanks for the
Yay, vice versa. We're so excited to have you here, Sarah. You don't know. But you'll get an email from Brenna very soon. And then the bill package, I know you've been on the digest already, but if you start studying the bill package and have a look at that, and then if everyone's comfortable with the bill package, that's really the first step, is to set up those meetings and you know, get on the adopted district list, which you already are, and just start moving forward like that. It's really straightforward since you guys are expert in this. Tara? Yeah,
I just wanted to say too, some states like New York, California have a lot of districts in them. If there's somebody that's from the greater New York area that wants to adopt just New York City districts, that would be helpful, or just Westchester and South. So if you are from one of these states that has, you know, many districts, feel free to say, I want to adopt, you know, the northern third of California or something like that. And for that matter, if you live in a state that has one representative and you can adopt the 2 states around you, that would be fantastic too. So it would just be a way to coordinate a little bit regionally. So
Yes, wonderful.
further
And
out.
yeah, so you're never, you can adopt your district or you can adopt a portion or your whole state. So the folks, Brenna, if you could check the chat, there's Illinois, Michigan, I think Oregon. Anne's already, Anne and Rashenda. Hi, Rashenda. Where are you? Thank you again. It's good to see you. And for your
Hello,
notes.
how are you?
Oh,
Yeah,
good. Hey.
Yeah, sometimes we're if somebody's interested in adopting Oregon, just asking them to send a email to myself or Anne, because there's already a bit of work being done in Oregon and we're kind of already meeting in a statewide group. So we would love to bring you in. And if you want to be a leader, we will totally, I'm from the faith group, so I'm gonna say lay hands on you and tell you to go for it. So lots of good stuff to be done, and you'd be very welcome to jump right in.
Wonderful. And I consider you guys have already adopted, Oregon's already adopted, but for states like that, where you have such incredible teams, so y'all talk about this next Monday. I'll probably be there. We just want to get some names down for each state. So it's really about building this organizational connected dot framework at this state.
And I think it's strong too, because you're not reduplicating efforts, right? Within the state, there's going to be certain state legislatures, state laws and all the rest. So I think it's actually a really good idea to kind of work on a statewide or regional level. So going to really applaud that thinking as well. So, okay, I'm going to retreat back to the shadows of the box with the name on it, and good luck listening to the rest of the meeting.
It's so good to see you. Thank you again for everything you did, all that whole team. Actually, Rashenda, Senator Merkley offered to set up this bicameral briefing thing, and I don't know if William or who wants to follow up with them on that. Can y'all take that on? And
we already have it in our notes. Yes, we definitely want to do that. That's a letter. We have a plan to write a letter, and that was actually something I was going to email you about, how you wanted to manage that next step with him. Because yes, all our Oregon ears perked up, and I know nationally as well. And he's doing a lot of really good work. And so to kind of find out what his idea was along that line, and sometimes constituents can help push those sorts of balls along. So, but I want to do that in relationship to what CCP is doing to make sure that we're not, working cross purposes.
all right, well, since this is sort of our working meetings where we get all this stuff figured out, so let's just go ahead and figure it out. I would say just go ahead, and I think it'd be a simple email from you guys. Senator Merkley suggested a bicameral thing. Who on your staff, could we connect to follow up with, or do you need us to do anything? Just something simple like that, a follow-up.
Yeah, totally. Okay, and we're going to copy you then on that, and then we'll probably sign it with the different organizations that are already sort of involved in Oregon, since there was a group that made the ask for him to come to the symposium and just kind of follow that as well.
Perfect.
Does that work for you?
That's wonderful.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yay, okay, that's a check off the to-do list. That was the top of my to-do list. And I'm asking the symposium partners to follow up on that as well.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Rashida Talib and Andy Levin too were just amazing. And so I hope folks are, drag them into it. I'm sure they'll want to, but hey, Senator Merkley mentioned this, and we'd sure love to know what's kind of going on up there. I don't know, whatever. But I was just enraptured by listening to those wonderful folks talk about the good things ahead.
I know, they were exciting. So that raises the point that I think I mentioned on a prior meeting, but there is now a House caucus. It's not a formal caucus. It's a group of about 20 staff people from 20 different legislators, and they've created this House Left Climate Team. I forget the exact wording. And so they already have a document out asking for input, and they are drafting a gold standard climate bill as well.
Awesome.
And then they're also planning to, be a political weight when they see policies gravitating toward, a centrist accommodation type of things. So that is already happening.
That's great.
I don't know internal politics, but Senator Merkley should really take the lead on his vision, and then coordinate with whomever he wants to on the House side.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then our job to provide them cover for that work, so they can triangulate and say, hey, I got my whole state here banging on my door asking me to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay, I won't worry about them too much, but we're gonna go ahead and we have a letter planned for Merkley, and we'll go ahead and do it that way.
All right, Oregon. All right, thank you. Okay, so the last pieces are, I don't know if we had any questions going on. There's a stack question. Mark, did you have a question?
Yeah. Who's the ringleader of that house staff group?
Um,
Either the member or the staff person?
yeah, I have that, and it's his name is Levin too, but it's the staff person's name. So I have to look for that, Mark, and send it to you. I have it somewhere. I'm trying to remember where I put it, but I have it somewhere and I'll send it to you. I'll send you the whole form. So since we're connected to US Climate Action Network, you know, they are plugged into these kinds of things, obviously, and they get asked to provide input to different things and they send it out to their whole membership. So we're now plugged in through that mechanism as well. One thing I didn't mention already is that's, well, let me
Todd,
just,
sorry, just quickly, because like Mark, I'm interested in that. I think it could be, if you have a left-leaning congressperson getting involved in that staffer project that you just mentioned would be a good thing to ask. I'd want to let Pramila Jayapal know about that and would like to ask her to take part, or her staffer to take part in that. So maybe everybody should get that information that you're planning to send to Mark.
I hear you. I think yes, sure. So I don't know if I need to ask US CAN about their, you know me, I like everything to be completely public. That's how we're going to build a mass movement instead of a secret one. But since that's flowing through them and I'm new to that coalition, we're new to there, I'll ask them what the sharing parameters are about that. But I don't think it could be a secret. It's not a secret, obviously. And so I'll definitely share the email and I can figure out how to share that. Let me just I got your point on that and we'll try to figure that out. Just make a note of that. Keep forgetting about that committee because they're asking for input now. I don't think we're in a position to give them input from all of we could send them the digest, you know, the bills that we're looking at. I mean, they're going to get all that anyway. I don't think that there's what we would be adding value to, I think, is what's missing. And we're not quite there yet, but they're just getting started. So we'll see once we start getting our materials in one place, whether we can provide some kind of input to their process. But the House left team, I'll send out y'all to Mark. All right, so the next thing on the agenda, so everybody, I'm sorry, back in just January 11th, 7 p.m. Brenna, are you planning on using your Zoom for that?
Sorry, I was saying I could do that. I was off mute.
Is that what you
I will
want to
send
do?
out, what's that?
Is that what you were thinking to do? Use your Zoom account?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you know that on the 2021, intake thing is all those people have volunteered for this now. And so they'll need an email with that link. And if you could just send me that link earlier, if I do any other emails between now and then, I'll include it.
Okay.
That's an open meeting anyway. The 11th, yeah, okay. Then I don't know if it's too late to do it now here. Okay, so real briefly on the 13th, getting a little tired. That's our general meeting again. And so I for the content of that, I'm thinking, I'm inviting the collective impact people from Harvard and then the co-op folks, Cornelius, to talk about that. So a little bit on education on coalition frameworks and concepts as an educational piece. And then Corey, I think I saw you join the call. Are you still here with us? Yeah, he's here. Corey Corey Westbrook is with the Endangered Species Coalition, which is a new policy sector that we're adding to our team. And I'm so excited about that because I've been wanting, I feel like one of the main reasons I'm here is to speak for the animals and plants. And I was wanting that piece of the puzzle, and all of a sudden I got an email from him, and he's volunteered to head that up. So Corey, I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you. And first of all, I'm a woman, but that's a common mistake because Corey is a guy's name too. So yeah, I just saw that email and I think I can do it. I got to just check my schedule. But I assume that that presentation would be kind of like why ESA and wildlife is important to the climate change movement. Is that the kind of justification as well as how we can interconnect and work together, the coalitions?
Todd, you're mute. You're muted, Todd.
Absolutely, that sounds great. You know, framing the conversation and the nightmare that is unfolding to, you know, raise the alarm level, I think, on this topic in particular, which, you know, gets lost in the conversation, I feel a little bit too much. So raising that platform up, and then whatever else you want to add about your legislation. I know you have the legislation. I was looking at your website to bolster the Endangered Species Act and whatever other, you know, ideas you have in mind. And then how that relates, how we can, you know, we don't have to get into this part of it on the 13th, but hopefully you could join the Coalition of Coalitions planning. And, you know, whatever you can, I'm happy for you to share thoughts on that on the 13th if you want, but we're going to get into that in much more detail so we can circle back. So really the situation, and then how legislation could help, and how it relates to the climate movement, et cetera. And I don't know if you've seen our bill package yet, but we have a CAFO bill on there, which is animal related. The pesticides bill, which is obviously has all those hooks, insects and biodiversity, and what else do we
And pollinators and food and ecosystem services that trees provide and help balance global warming. Yeah, it's all totally connected. I have not looked at your package yet, but I absolutely will before the 13th.
All right, wonderful. Well, I am just so grateful that you emailed and that you're here and that you're going to join us in this work. I'm thrilled. You have no idea. It was one of those synchronicities. I was literally just thinking how much I wanted this to be in the mix. I was like, who should we reach out to? And I got an email from you. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I don't know if you want to say 2 sentences now about your organization.
Sure. The Endangered Species Coalition is a coalition of environmental organizations and we do regional, state, local. So that's like our appeal. That's our strength, right? Because we can communicate with lawmakers on very local issues as well as national issues. We have big guys as our coalition. We have Defenders of Wildlife and NRDC and Union for Concerned Scientists and Center for Biological Diversity. And then we have small organizations like the Key Deer organization from Key West. So we act as a liaison to them, and we communicate everything that's happening in DC, all the attacks that the Trump administration has done on the Endangered Species Act, on the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, on NEPA, on just the constant onslaught. And then we, you know, write letters and organize legislation, and then get our member groups to weigh in with their members. So it's total grassroots. But I agree, like fundamentally combining coalitions together for working on something like climate change is crucial, and on the extinction crisis. And like you had said too, like not being in secrecy anymore, like everyone needs to be kind of working together, because it's going to take everybody to get a good bill passed.
Yay, wonderful. This is so exciting. And so are you available for those Saturday working group for the Coalition of Coalition?
I only looked at 2 Saturdays and I was, so yes, for starting, and then I'll try to figure out my calendar.
Great, no worries. Just to get us started, and that's at the coalition meeting is the second one, right? So we're doing that at 5 o'clock, I think. I'll be sending out an email to everybody about those 2 meetings before Saturday, and I'll also include Brenna's meeting on the 11th. I'll just have to send that to everybody. That's okay. We send out the notices to everybody, and people show up when, you know, even if they're not signed up. We might treat the committees a little differently, the working groups. I have to think about that. All right, so that's exciting. So then so we'll have that on, and then on our general meeting. And it would be also nice to have some of our teams start to reporting on these general meetings. So like Brenna, if you could be on, if you feel like it, on deck for the Wednesday, the 13th, to do an adopted district, couple minutes. We have 50, 60, maybe 70, I don't know how many it is now, districts adopted. And we have X states adopted, and we're looking for leads in 15 states and 25 districts. And, you know, if you have a list of those that we could pop into the thing, I think we can use those meetings to recruit and to give it just a snapshot of where things are. Maybe a couple, as people have had meetings, sometimes we like to start our meetings with a report back from somebody who had a congressional meeting. So just keep in mind that we'll always have a spot for you on the general meetings. And I would love if you could do a little presentation. If you can't make it, that you line somebody else to do it with those sort of stats and then the invitation. And really we'll use it to pressure people a little bit, like, you know, when you have an auction and you have people in the room and you're like, okay, we'll get, you know, we need somebody in this state, we need somebody in that state. And that'll just get the juices flowing. I think by the 11th, your committee is going to be on that, but we'll do that at the general meeting. I'm not sure about the policy sectors, but these two working groups will be reporting back in the general meetings generally. We'll have to think about the role of the policy sectors in that. But on this note, to help program these general meetings, if there are bills that, you know, are important bills, like the Thrive agenda. Mark, if you want to invite somebody to come to present on the Thrive agenda, if that would be great. We're meeting with Sunrise this week, I think, or next. So I can talk to them about it too. Attel is setting up meetings with all sorts of groups as well. And I'm meeting with all sorts of people and organizations. But if you have a bill that is important to your sector and it's not on our package yet, and we want to add it to the package, you know, make sure that gets on my radar, but more importantly, figure out what group is behind that bill and let's get them invited to come present. So first, you know, show me the bill and let's talk about it. But if you could start becoming a feeder system for those bills and to help program the general meetings, that would be helpful. And at some point I might hand off the programming of the general meetings to someone else. But right now, Carolyn and Keith are going to help me with outreach. And so I think I have it in hand for a minute. The last thing I want to say about the 13th is we've decided to, at the intercore meeting, which is the meeting at noon of a lot of people here, and we decided to go ahead and have 2 other meetings on that day. They're going to be, we decided to have them be private with a report out so that we would report to everybody here, of course, that they're happening. After they're over, we'll report what transpired and who was there. This idea we're gonna have to really come to terms with, of creating space for there to be private conversations that aren't always public, just to create some safe space for some of the entities that are not used to, you know, bearing it all, so to speak, as we do here. And as we're tiptoeing into that upper echelon of organizing, we're going to do, that's sort of the thinking. It runs counter to my instincts of transparency, which are fundamental, but I think this is a reasonable compromise, and this happens often. Even if you're being transparent, they used to call it executive session. You discuss confidential things like employee matters and things like that, but you get the idea. So the first one will be the symposium presenters invited back for an hour to talk about next steps, 3 to 4. And then we're going to have another open meeting for legislative directors and policy directors from 5 to 6. Now, we don't know if anyone will show up for these, so we're just going to get this in motion, see who registers, and take it from there. If we have to cancel or reschedule, whatever, those are fluid. It's just to keep moving the ball forward. And in the email that will go out to the symposium presenters, I have a list of to-dos, initial to-dos for them, including, well, I don't know if I feel like we're trying to remember everything that's in it, but including asking them to collect the bills that they're all supporting together, sort of like what we've done, but asking them to do it. It's actually a lot of parallels to everything we're doing. I'm asking them to do it too. And if they do it and they run with it and it's great, then that might lighten our load a little bit on certain things. But I'm, giving them advice on creating internal management teams, on creating a legislative director committee, on a variety of points, about 8 different ideas. And again, like I say, it's similar to what we're doing. So that's what's happening. we'll get the current activity team going. Hopefully they'll be reporting back at the general meetings. Again, on that point, it's a lot of work to monitor and know what's going on. So we're going to try to find lead organizations to do that for us. And then we'll communicate, have them come maybe. If EDF and Food and Water Watch wanted to give maybe once a month, maybe they don't want to come every 2 weeks. We'll see. But that could be how that team works, to try to find organizations that are in the know, doing this on a daily basis. And that's part of the ask to Senator Merkley. That's part of the ask I'm sitting at the symposium, ask Congress to brief us and just basically create an information flow from the inside to the outside. And a few other things. So I don't know, Christine, if you want to start to get ready for the spreadsheet. The chat.
Okay, try to pull it up now.
Yeah, I think so. Any questions on everything I've just said? And while we're looking at this, maybe I could try to pull up that email for you, Mark, and whomever wants it. So, all right, let me just
Okay, so this is transportation. It has a really good representation of missing items. You can see here, line 24.
Okay, so they notated that as missing.
Under the Senate.
Oh, those are things that are missing from from those things that are in the digest. Okay, good.
And
now,
then,
what about things that are brand new that are missing entirely from everything?
Yes, I'll go down to the bottom. Sorry, close your eyes, everyone. I'll go fast. Here, they have new items listed at the very bottom. And these items happen to be from the House.
So those are new from the House. I see, because they're in the House plan, I see. And is there, like, if there's something that's not in the digest, the House, or the Senate, where would that go?
Well, this one is not in the digest. It's listed just as a new item under the House.
Right, but it's in the House. So if something's in the House or in the Senate or the digest, it's in. I get that, how I see how this is going. But if something's brand new and doesn't appear in any of these things,
I would assume it was
put it at the
listed
bottom.
down here below. And
Okay,
there's
so that's
nothing
the plan. Right. But for everybody,
I'm sorry, Todd. This sector
No, you
did a
go.
really good job of listing new and missing items, so I don't see it. So I don't think that they had, maybe they did,
All
but
right.
they didn't list it. I don't know. We'll have to check.
no, that's fine. They may not have. this is a thing that I know is going to come. So we're just figuring out where to put that information. I think if everybody's on those policy sector teams, if you could put it at the bottom, the very bottom, and just indicate clearly ahead of it that this is new, not in anything. So like it would just be new, not in anything, and list those things at the bottom. But for those things, we need a bill reference, we need a policy document. If it's just our individual opinions, that's fine too, but indicate that these are just our new innovative ideas. So Mark is talking about something substantive. We're not going to get into any real policy conversations tonight. So this is okay. So that's all we needed to really look at, I think. Any questions from the policy sector teams about where to insert your information? And if we could add, we're going to need to add to the digest, I think, in that spreadsheet, Christine, I think we need to add a section on wildlife and plants.
Yes.
Corey's new team, and then we'll add the I don't know if we want to add a health section to it. Maybe not yet.
A question to
There's something else I was thinking about.
What about art?
Yeah, art doesn't need to go there. That's going to be that's just going to be real art. Actually, it's not art
Okay.
policy.
Okay.
question, please, regarding the insertion of things that are new, that are not in anything, right? Is that the idea? Does that go under, that doesn't go at the end of the document, that goes under each section. Is that correct?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I guess it could go in each section so that we're organized. I think that should go in each section now that you mentioned that, so that we're contradicting what we just said a little bit. I think it should go in each section, just, create a little room there and indicate that it's not, you're not putting it down as something that's in the House or Senate.
Is this
Because
a
if
new
it's at the bottom,
spreadsheet?
let's
Is
think
this a
about
new
this.
spreadsheet? Because it sure looks like the old spreadsheet made better. Christine, are you going to give us a link to the new spreadsheet, or how are we going to find our work cut out for us?
Rachel, it's the same one.
It's the same one. Okay,
It
I got it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, you're all set. You have it.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, are we to meet, Christine, are we meeting separately when this meeting is over?
Todd is trying to address all of the points now, right,
Okay.
Todd? So
Yeah.
if you have any questions, I guess we could stay on, but
Okay,
I think he's covering a lot of it.
okay, just wondering how we
Yeah.
would do this.
Feel free to ask anything now, though, and make sure this is what these meetings are for. These are working meetings. Rachel McLaughlin, I sent you that list of phone numbers. Was that okay for you to add those to the document?
Yeah, I got it. I can do that.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, can I say something?
Excuse me. Yes, who's speaking?
Gene Bundy.
Oh, hi, Gene. Yes.
Do you want to talk about art now or afterwards? And it was suggested to be added to the digest, but I don't know if you want to do that.
We could talk about it a little bit now. So Gene, there are several people that volunteered for art, and our intern is at a school for arts and writing in the Bronx. He's in 10th grade, and he's going to do a couple art projects for us. One is he's going to talk to his classmates, and they're going to come up with a new logo for the Earth Bill Network.
Okay.
Fun. We'll see what that looks like. And then they're also going to do a tree organizational chart built on the foundation of a tree, and show where all of our various committees are and our working groups, just to have an organizational representation of what we're doing. I just wanted you to know that. And I don't know if you want us to hook them up with you or not. If you'd like to, Brenna, you and G could decide. But so anyway, there's other people who signed up for the art team, and I added you to that spreadsheet so you could collect, you could see who volunteered for art. And do you planning on convening those people separately and talking to them and figuring out what your agenda?
Well, I guess I need to know what you want first before we go out and do anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sort of like the art team could get together and decide what it wants to do a little bit.
Right, because I mean, we basically, on my other committees, I'm on the International Art Critics group, which, meets meets when it meets. I mean, we're basically a clearinghouse to help other organizations, as opposed to, we're not promoting a bill of art, but we're basically interested on my other committee in, broadcasting, who's having exhibitions, who's having conferences, what artists are, contextualizing art. And, I write a bi-weekly column in Alaska for Anchorage Press, which is available online. And through that, I do a lot of art, read, books, the gamut, for instance, MIT Press is putting out a lot of books on climate change. And some of them work for artists and some of them don't. So basically, if we're going to have art in climate crisis, it's more of a clearinghouse, I think, than something that's, to tell people. So when museums open again and there are shows around, people will know, hopefully, to go online and know where to go.
All right, so let's think. It sounds like we're going to need to think about this a little bit more, Gene. My vision for the art group is that
that's what I do anyway. That's what I'm doing.
That's what you already do, right?
Right.
So in terms of the team, how we are, we're like the Tom Sawyer. We're trying to get coalitions of coalitions So there are a lot of institutions out there working on climate and art. There are climate art groups and youth groups, and I don't know all their names, but I know they
Right.
exist. So the first step, I think, for the working group, the art working group, would be to identify those organizations, just like we're doing in every other arena,
Right.
and contact them and figure out how we can collaborate together.
Right.
And
For
then
instance,
simultaneously, we can launch our, I'm sorry.
oh no,
I
I
was
just
gonna say
said sorry. I didn't
simultaneously.
mean to interrupt you. Right, I didn't mean to. For
I'm sorry?
instance, climate crisis in Governor's Island, it does a tremendous amount of K through 12. You know, the
Right, so those
the
kinds of things.
museum, right?
But yeah, but there are several of them, I think. And so we need to research that. I would get the team researching that and finding out who they are, putting them on our list of contacts and outreach, and then try to form them into a coalition of climate art groups to then simultaneously, because we're trying to get impact at scale. So we're really trying to multiply our impact. And so that's why if we could get all the art groups and then they all decided, okay, we're going to help tell the story of the new Earth Bill or the solutions really that are in the Earth Bill. That's, so they don't need to get to work right away. It'd be more like building the team, getting them ready, saying this coalition, everything's forming. Will you then do the art once we're ready to launch?
Right. Well, I guess we need to know, you're right, who they are.
Yeah. So that's the really job of the working group.
Right.
The team is to research that and come up with that list.
Right.
And you and I can talk about it more on email.
Okay.
If you need my help to get it started, or maybe somebody else I could volunteer. Let me see. If somebody could go to the 2021, maybe Rachel Goughlin, would you be willing to go to the new 2021 sign up form and pull out all the emails of people who volunteered for the art department and start an email thread with Jean?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be great.
Hallelujah. All right. And then that reminds me.
I guess I just need your email too, right? I'll put mine on whatever, right? Okay.
She'll find you.
Okay.
Or,
Yeah,
go ahead and put it in the chat for Rachel, if you could.
Okay.
Jean.
Sure.
I think you already signed up on the form. I think I already saw you.
I did, but I'll put it down anyway again.
So it's there. So, shoot. Oh, mapping is the next thing I was going to tell you all about. Sarah, another Sarah, I don't know if she's here. I know she's not here tonight. Is going to head up our little mapping team, and has expertise in that. And so she'll be figuring out the platform that we're going to use. And then the question is data collection and creating the different maps that we want to have. So we're going to have a map of all the adopted district locations. We're going to have a map of hopefully where all the faith team that we have, where they have congregations. All this will be by congressional district. We'll have a map of everyone who's registered for our events. And so our audience. And then we'll have a map for our network. So all of your organizations, if you're adopting a district or if you're just deeply involved in this work, we're going to be coming up with a form to say, do you want to be part of this Earth Bill network? And, sort of sign on the dotted line, and we'll know what that entails before we get there, of course. But these are all the levels of it. And so we might be going back to a lot of people because we didn't necessarily collect zip codes and addresses for everything. But so there might be some data collection we have to do. But anyway, that's going to happen. And there's a little team there with a few people that are working on this and our database management so that we can get all of our organization committees, et cetera, in some sort of internal organized database. And that'll help us be more organized. But just to let you know that that's happening. And that would be a feature on the new website that would map the entire network. And it could be very exciting. Let's see. I think that's everything tonight. I see a lot of chat on the side, but I can't read what all it's about. So I don't know if there's anything pressing. Any other questions from anybody about anything? Oh, go ahead, Tara.
I was just thinking that it sounds like we kind of need, would it make sense to schedule right now a first meeting of the current I forget what it's called again, but like the current legislative.
It can't because nobody raised their hand that was from it. So I'm gonna have to send an email to that group.
I'll schedule stuff. That's
could
what
you
I'm
initiate? All right. So
yeah.
you'll go to the 2021 list. send out an email to all of those people and copy me if you would on that one.
Okay.
And, oh, thank you. Thank you. So
Yeah.
we'll just make you a sort of like a temporary point person to get this
Yep.
go. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tara.
Yeah.
I need to add that to the contact list too, that we have that team. I keep forgetting about it.
Todd, is that the September 9th? Those 2 meetings? Is that what Tara's talking about?
No, she's talking about the current action team. The people
Okay.
and everything that's moving, et cetera.
Okay. Okay.
And,
Can I ask a question about the electricity sector?
of course.
Okay. Should I include the Nuclear Power Coalition in this as well as part of the electricity sector, or separate?
Yeah, for now, and then they'll probably want to be their own little, yes.
Okay.
I think yes is the answer. Let's include them there.
Okay, thank you.
And Catherine's putting together a coalition of people who are anti-nuclear. We're going to invite the anti-megadam people. Now's the time we're going to really open the tent very wide, of course. And it's not about trying to find reconciliation about all these different points of view yet.
Okay.
That'll be a long journey over the next year. Right. So we'll see. And it may be that we have platforms, maybe a bill that has all renewables and then there might be a bill version with some, who knows what it's going to look like. But don't worry about us finding agreement on everything.
Okay.
Let's just make sure we invite all the perspectives into this next level of conversation.
Okay, thank you, Todd.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, is there any pressing issue in the chat that needs to be addressed before we go? All right. Thank you, everybody. So we're still having this core meeting. It seems like it's very useful. We're doing, the nitty gritty work of what we're doing. And I think it's necessary. And then the general meetings will be a little bit more polished and presentation oriented. And this is a working meeting. And then we have the other intercore team, which is happening on Mondays at noon. And that's about 10 or 12, maybe more now, 15 people whom you all know. And they're just sort of similar function. They're helping to staff the working groups and et cetera, and just to help me feel supported administratively. And so people from leads from all the policy of all of our various teams are on that committee. So it's just like a coordinating intercore team. So let's just let everyone know how it's all working. Keith Vos just joined us because I know he's at the heart of the drawdown. Keith, welcome. Before we go, would you like to give us a little report back on the drawdown conference?
He literally just joined.
He bounced in and out?
He's here.
Keith, can you hear us? He's probably not expecting us to talk to him. Hello? Well, if he doesn't come in.
He's here, but he is.
Oh, there he is.
Okay,
Keith, hey.
okay. So that remark was to me. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome. I was wondering if you might give us a little update on a report back on the drawdown conference today.
Well, I can't because I was not there.
Oh, never mind then. Right.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Well, so Friday and Saturday are supposedly free for that, and if people want to register, but we're not sure about how that works.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Everyone's Mark's saying early numbers from Georgia look good. We'll see.
Okay.
Well, that would be a very exciting turn of events, and that would turn up the heat on our timeline. Anything else? Do we have anybody from North Carolina? Robert, you're from North Carolina, I thought it was South Carolina. Oh, good. Well, I think I just copied you on an email from somebody from North Carolina looking for partners.
And I've just prepared an email. We're going to send it as soon as we're finished, and I'll copy you.
Wonderful. Great.
Can I interject real quick? This is Rashenda again. Just to, you just mentioned Georgia. And I think that I would like, you have a faith sector on this particular effort, and to appear to just as a person of faith to say that I would like to just raise the gratitude and humility before any of the numbers that are coming as we sort of focus on not speaking too soon, too fast, or taking too much for granted, regardless of what ways anything may go, and raising up hope for the greatest good possible that can happen over the next day or so in Georgia and also in this country. So greatest good in all things, and gratitude abundant. And anyway, just wanted to contribute that.
Thank you, Rashenda. That is always welcome and very much appreciated. Is anyone who's on the call that's new and we don't know your name yet or haven't talked to you? Do you want to say hello, or you have any like Nan Holda or Laura Betts? Anybody there that just
Well,
wants to say
I'm
hi?
just going to say hi. I'm from Champaign, Illinois. I'm working on another climate change initiative. I'm an employee of, I work in Champaign, Illinois at the University of Illinois, but my employer is actually the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. And so I've been working there 10 years, and I just realized that there is no sustainability issue or a sustainability initiative at the Institute. So I'm working on starting one up for 3,000 employees there.
How exciting.
And I'm just kind of like doing that and listening to what you guys are doing. I'm more of a grassroots person. I like to work on projects. I like inspiring people to take up climate action challenges and implement their own challenges and help mentor them and release them off into the world. So anyways, but I'm just kind of listening while I'm doing my other work.
Well, welcome. It's nice to meet you and thank you.
Okay.
And, let us know how you want to, anytime you want to jump in and you want to listen for a while, that's great too.
Well, I mean, maybe at some point, if I get this sustainability group going at Howard Hughes, we might be looking for speakers or something, So, I mean, I don't know if that would be something that you guys
Sure, we're happy to talk
anyway, so.
Problem, yeah. And if you want to adopt your congressional district, that would be wonderful. We have a pretty good.
God, it's Rodney Davis.
Yeah.
So Illinois 13th and Rodney Davis. He's horrible. He won't meet. He is afraid of people from Champaign, Illinois. He won't meet with us in person. So he's
That's okay. That's okay. It's really about getting the bill package to his staff. We're not leaving any stone unturned. We want to go to the most, because once we start pushing for the bill package, for example, you never know. There might be some things that they might like. There's a lot of stuff in there that's just don't know who's going to resonate with what. So we basically are saying, let's go to everybody and start the conversation, start those relationships, and we'll be pushing, depending on how it all plays out. It might be sit-ins in people's office instead of voluntary meetings. So it'll span the gamut, but we always start with the hello, here's our bill package. Can we talk to your legislative team? And right now it's just more about building the network. So if you're up for that, please do sign up.
Oh, believe me, I've tried networking with Rodney Davis. Hasn't worked. So I've kind of given up on that. He's sort of a lost cause in my respect. So I've been trying for like 5 years with him. So.
All right, well, let's stay in touch about this because I want to tackle some of those tough, those kinds of resistance stories with so it could be like using the bill package to formulate a little mini coalition there across those issues. And there are more than one ways to get at a legislator. And we haven't even started to talk about this, but once we get into this a little bit more, we'll be talking about finding their major donors, finding family members. We're talking about saving the planet here.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone will play nice, and then some organizations will play less nice. But there are many ways to get under people's skin, and we're going to be exploring those. So the first step is just to adopt the district. Now I'm not talking to you just alone now anymore, but everybody. If you could please adopt your district or find somebody in your congressional district to adopt it, an organization ideally, that would be a huge help. And we're going to embark on this journey, and then we'll find out who's said absolutely no. We have a form, by the way, if you've adopted your district, for report backs on that. And then we'll say, okay, we got these group of Congress people that are completely recalcitrant. They won't even have a legislative director meeting, or they won't ever do this. And then we'll come up with escalating strategies to engage those people over time. So that's just my pitch on we're gonna make some people uncomfortable.
Well, I think like in Central Illinois, you guys really need to focus on the farmers, because basically outside of Champaign, Urbana, and Bloomington, Illinois, it's a Republican area. So you got to really focus on the farmers.
Well, and that's in the bill package. We have like 4 farm bills sponsored by Cory Booker and all the farmers associations. So it could be that he'll want to support those. That's why I'm saying we shouldn't presume anything now. Let's just start like it's a clean slate, even with the history, I understand, if that's okay to suggest. I mean, to review the bill package maybe and see if you think any of those issues as a start, maybe. All right, great. Well, I'm just trying to rope you in, as you can probably tell. Anyone else, now that you've raised your hand, then I put you on the spot, but did anyone else that's new? Laura would like to say hi? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Laura Betts. I'm with the Clio Institute. Formerly, I have been, and I'm still with Climate Reality. I noticed there was a lot of people from Climate Reality on this team. I think that's how I got invited, because I really don't know how I was invited. And so I sat in today to see how we can help, how we can join your team, and what we can do, you know, with Climate Reality for Central Florida as well. I'm a past chapter chair, and I'm a project manager now for the Clio Institute in Florida. And we do climate education statewide in Florida. We also have a policy person on board, so I'm probably going to hand a lot of this over to her. She was just hired last week, so yeah. Sounds amazing.
Well, that's wonderful. Florida is a key state. We have some pretty strong contacts in, I forget the district numbers, but Tampa and St. Petersburg in particular, they're working on it. And Kathy Castor is.
Yes.
Is that in your area?
We love her. She works with us all the time. So.
Right. So, and then there's a Pastor Myers. Do you know Pastor Myers from the Florida Interfaith of Churches, something?
He's part of our coalition, but I don't know if I've ever met him personally. So I'm on several coalitions. I believe he's on the First 50 coalition.
All right, wonderful. I just put a form in the, again, if you could click on that form, and maybe if you wouldn't mind adopting your district, and if I could just get you, if you could put your email in the chat too for me, or just send it to me if you'd like.
You want my business or my personal?
Whichever one you want to correspond with about this. It's up to you.
Okay.
All right, well, see, this is good. This is why I'm glad we're talking to folks. It's important that we meet the new folks. Anyone else new that would like to say hello and introduce yourself? This is why we come together. Jeffrey Michael, you're not new, but okay. Hi, Lisa, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Yes. So I'm Lisa. I lightly participated in the summer with some of the climate bills, but now that the election year is over and my work on the campaign that I was on finished, I'm ready to dedicate some more time to this effort. I'm a co-founding member of Washtenaw 350, which is a chapter of 350.org. I also work with several groups in Michigan, Water Protectors at Large, the Anishinaabe Caucus, and I'm working now with a new group called CRAFT. And there's lots of coalitions in between, some of them centered around Detroit, Work for Me, DTE, Roads, and various other groups. And I'm sharing the emails that I'm getting from CCP to get them on board and to fold them into this bigger process.
Yay, thank you. I know we've been emailing about some things. Michigan, wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. This is very exciting. Anyone else would like to say hi? Jeffrey Michael Blog, you've been a little quiet lately, but anything you want to add?
Well, sure. You and I have exchanged emails, but I guess I'm in Portland, Oregon. I am one of those activists, environmentalists, volunteers that have found other work to survive. And now that we have a new leadership in the White House and a new movement forward, we're just looking for, I'm just looking for where I fit in and how can I be most effective using my grad school and Peace Corps volunteer skills and just to be effective. So it's good to see everybody. I'm also part of the Naraya Cultural Preservation Dance for All People to learn about Indigenous ways of stewarding the land. So yeah, man of faith.
Wonderful. Welcome. It's so great to connect. And I don't know if I saw you before, but I know we've been emailing. We have mutual friends, and it's great to have you here. And
to me, this is how networking can actually work: is to know people, intimately, and to call out, because we're listening. I can tell you, there's a lot of us that are we're waiting for the right opportunity to to be activated.
Great, wonderful. Yes, I know. We're all waiting to be activated. That's why we're trying to create this demand that will activate us all. But in the meantime, we're building the infrastructure to get activated. Doug Itkin, you want to say hi? Not to pull anyone out, but since
Hey,
picture there.
this is
Hi.
Doug. I'm in Rhode Island and work with the Climate Action Rhode Island group. Justin leads. And yeah, just listening in to see what's going on.
Great, great. Wonderful, welcome. I think there are a lot of people in Rhode Island busy lately. I forget who everyone's name at the moment from there, but all right. Did anyone else want to say hi? I don't want to put everybody on the spot. Brenna, were you looking to say something?
I was, Doug. I have been reaching out to Cicilline's office. So I would love some, yeah, it would be great if you wanted to join me in trying to set up some meetings with the Rhode Island congressional delegation. I'll email you separately about that.
Sure.
You have
Yeah,
his email, Brenna? Do you need anything to do that?
Doug, would you drop your email in the chat? Thank you.
This is good. Maybe
So,
more on the meeting.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just have a question. I'm a little confused as to where I'm going. Did you want me to talk to you afterwards like you wanted, or do you want me to just email you?
I think Rachel's going to be sending you an email. Rachel McLaughlin is going to send an email to everyone who signed up for our team, and we'll take the conversation from there via email.
You want to see who's there first and then go from there?
Well,
Okay.
if you'd like, I don't know.
It's
That's
fine.
up. Why don't maybe you and Rachel could email us how you want to proceed first.
Okay. I mean, I just want to make sure we're sort of open and do you have something you have in mind right now or not?
Well, just what we spoke about earlier in terms
Right.
of.
I'm still confused.
All right. Well, don't worry. We'll work it out over email. No worries.
Okay.
You'll get an
Okay.
email from Rachel McLaughlin. Rachel, wave your
I
hand
got that.
to
No, I
Jean.
got that. No. I just don't want to. I don't want to go in a direction you don't want. That's what I.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No worries. Anything you want to do is going to be fine too. But we'll talk more about that.
Okay.
Later. All right. Well, it's getting sort of late, but if there's anyone else on the call that's new and Adam Broad, would you like to say? You're not new, but do you want to say anything? Adam?
I'll just say solidarity, brothers and sisters, and no nukes.
Great. So, Catherine's working on a committee to bring all the organizations that have that, are working on that position together. So everyone, if you have those kinds of connections. How about Robert Schwartz? You want to say anything? This is sort of fun. Anything, Robert? You're muted. Do you know?
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Oregon here. And let's see, this COVID thing kind of put me out of business. And so I decided to kind of dedicate my corporate life into helping kind of alleviate some of this climate situation everyone's gotten into. And so there's lots of ways to help, from a personal level, like what I help advocate, to what you guys are doing, which is just absolutely amazing.
Well, wonderful, great. At Oregon, so I think Rashinda's gone. I don't know if you want to plug in with the Oregon people.
I have.
Okay. All right, great. Is there any particular role that you were seeing for yourself in this work?
Well, I'd like to kind of dive pretty deep into how agriculture and major farming, how food choices kind of affect how this is all going down.
Okay, great. Did you join the food and farm policy sector team?
I'm trying to. I think I was a dancer before this, and so I've never done anything even remotely close to this.
Wonderful. So, well, don't worry. We'll handhold you and guide you along the way. And we will, no past experience required, as they say. No former experience required. So just if you sign up on the same form that I put in the chat, And you just.
I'm pretty sure I already did. And,
Oh, you may have already. Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm just not, I'm working through the bureaucracy.
I understand. No worries, no worries. You'll get, yeah. We'll be onboarding everybody who just signed up. You know, we're all volunteers. It's all transition and to the next phase. So people will be reaching out soon about all of that. But we try to have everybody come to the same meetings pretty much as well. So these are how we get everybody on the same wavelength and make sure we know what everyone else is doing. All right, buddy. I think that's enough for now, unless anybody's new else that wants to say any hello. All right, we'll keep inviting folks, everybody, and we'll keep growing. And I don't think we could be better situated for the work ahead. It's really quite amazing how things have progressed and where we are, and it's very exciting. We're coming together, and it's going to be a new day, I think, soon. So, all right, everybody, I'm brain dead, and I'm just talking to hear myself talk, I think, at this point. So good night, everyone.
Thank you for your song, Todd. You were wonderful. We all have to keep thinking positive for Georgia, right?
Georgia, Georgia. Sing it, everybody, in your sleep.
Thanks,
Everything's on the line.
Thank you, Todd.
Good night, everybody.